All right, now we're going to show you how to actually run the board in. And one of the things I tell students all the time is the biggest thing is form, how your form matters. Imagine doing hang cleans or split jerk or something like that. You've got these little tiny guys that can, snatch up, 300-400 pounds, right? And a lot of that is just technique. Well, table saw is, a lot of that is technique as well, all right? Where you stand, every kid in the world wants to stand directly behind the wood. Don't stand behind the wood, all right? If I'm cutting and it does happen to kick back, it's gonna throw it directly into me, okay? So I'm in line, you don't wanna be in line with the wood. Number one, it also actually makes it easier. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you can actually take this fence and move it to the left side. I'll show you that in a second. All right, but I wanna be over here to the side. Now this hand, my left hand, is going to be up here on the table, but not up here, not near the blade, back here to where I'm away from the blade. I've got, a good 10, 12 inches between me and the blade. I'm gonna hold the wood like this. I don't know if you can see this, so I'll point it towards the camera for now. My thumb is pushing down on the table saw. My hand is pushing over against the fence, all right? So, and all I'm gonna do is let the board slide through my left hand like so. I'm never gonna move my left hand. I don't need to move my left hand. And if I do, it's gonna be very, very little, maybe an inch or two. That's gonna be it, right? So, as I'm pushing this, I'm just gonna let it slide through my left hand, all right? This hand back here, my right hand, whatever you do, the one thing I don't like about the saw is how this and this are not even. If you push down at all, this does this. What can potentially happen is the teeth are from the back of the saw here to the middle of the saw are coming in the up direction. If I push down at all and those teeth grab a hold of the board, it flips the board up into my face, all right? And you don't want to mess this up for the rest of your life, all right? So as you're cutting, you do not want to push down back here at all. Do not push down. Like, all you want to do is push forward, all right? With your right hand, all you want to do is push forward. And your left hand, I'm going to push down with my thumb against the fence, like so. We're going to turn it on, show you how to make a cut. There's a paddle switch right here. This little paddle switch, if you pull it out, it turns it on. If you push it in, it turns it on. You can see the blade turn. I'm going to stand over here to the side. Got my hand up here. Hand here, and let it go through like so. Once the back of the board gets on the table, I'm going to hold it in place with my left hand. Switch to my push stick, and I'm going to let go with my left hand. Then I can turn it off once I'm all the way past the blade. Now you don't want to reach for this piece of wood until the blade is stopped. All right? I don't know if you can see this on the video. There's a blue line right here. This piece, if you'll notice, is further than this piece is. You want the piece on the right to go all the way past the blade. You want the back of the board to go past that blue line. All right, there's a Sharpie line on there that you want the back of the board. Now, I was talking during the video, but as we were talking, all right, and I apparently didn't measure that right. We're on the next one. Once the back of the board gets on the table, you want to switch over to your push stick. But before you take your left hand off, you want to put the push stick here. All right? Before you take your left hand off, you want to put the push stick on the wood. If you put the push stick on too early, you have to put down pressure with the push stick, which does what I told you that we didn't want to do earlier, which is flip the board up in my face. All right? So you really don't want the push stick until the back of the board gets on the saw. All right? Now, you don't really, one of the rules that we got in classes, you have to use a push stick for anything less than 6 inches in width over here. So if my saw was set anything less than 6 inches, I got to use a push stick. My hand, theoretically, let's say that we're cutting it, 4.5 inches. Theoretically, my hand would fit back here, over here on this right side. But I'm really, really close to my blade. I mean, even if I tuck my hand as much as I can tuck my hand, I've still only got maybe an inch or two between me and the saw blade. So you've got to have at least 6 inches here. Otherwise, you got to use push stick. All right. If you got 6 inches or more here, you can run your hand through it. Obviously, you got to make sure you don't keep your thumb or your fingers in on the blade at all. All right. So we're going to run this through one more time just to give you an idea what cut. Another thing that I see high school students, I've taught for over a decade now. The one thing I do see high school students do a lot is they want to cut really slow because they're scared of the saw. Cutting really slow, really slow is just almost just as bad as cutting really fast, all right? Because there's friction building up as the whole time the blade is spinning by that piece of wood. You can see burning on the side of the wood. We're gonna set this back to, one of the things I should have done was measure my lumber. Actually should have been more like 2 11/16. Get it right this time. We're going to cut that in half, measure, mark my fence. I'm going to stand over here to the side. Hold down with my thumb, push against the fence. Do not push down with this hand. Once the back gets on the table, use your push stick. Watch the speed of my cut as I cut. Once the saw blade turns on, the back. Now, I'm going to show you one more thing, cut-wise. Just 2 more things. Let's say for whatever reason, I'm just going to run this in real quick. That board wasn't long enough. We need a longer board. Guess what we'll do for work. Set this up to cut this. If for some reason you're cutting and it gets really hard to put, alright, so if it gets really hard to push and you feel like you're having to force the piece of wood into it, just turn saw. Now in order to get the piece of wood out, remember that I talked about these paws right here. There's little ones. Now this piece of wood is so thin it doesn't make it to the top palm. Right here, move my fence out of the way. You can lift these up, hold those there, pull your piece of wood out. And then put these back down. Alright, so if you got to, that's how you get a piece of wood out of that. You want to cut a longer piece of wood. It is, I honestly can't hold my longer piece of wood up here because I don't have enough down pressure to hold it down because the back is so heavy it wants to fall down like so. So this is the 8-foot piece of lumber. In that case, you want to take and either have a helper hold the back for you. They got to make sure they hold it level. Or if you've been on the tablesaw for a while, you can stand more back here, hold your hand like so, and feed it in the wood, but you just got to make sure you keep it pressed up against the fence the whole time. All right, so you can feed it in from back here. Then the table over there, the other table saw bars will catch it. That is what I call the outfeed table. We talked about this in class. Should have. We don't want to make any cross cuts. Cross cut, all right, is whenever you're cutting across the grain. You don't have enough surface area right here to keep the wood straight, and it's going to get off. It's going to get twisted. It's going to kick it back at you. If you had to make a cross cut, now let's say that this is after you've gotten really good with table saw. You can use what we call a miter gauge. Pretty much all table saws. Now this one, that was set to 15 degrees. There are these little grooves in the table. This miter gauge is built for that groove. That miter gauge will hold your piece of wood square to your fence, your rib fence. That way, if I wanted to, I could just run it down that right there, make sure I hold the piece of wood in place against the fence, and make my cross cut. Now, cross cuts are good on a table saw if you're going to make, let's say, a cut that you need to make, let's say, maybe 50 to 100 of. I don't have to keep resetting and measuring this. Run it through, grab the next piece, run it through. It's a lot quicker than doing the miter saw. But if you've only got, let's say less than 20 pieces to make, I'd cut it on the miter saw. All right. So the miter gauge slides in that little groove. Here. I'm just making sure I cover everything. Last but not least, I don't want you cutting any boards that are wider than 16 inches. Wider boards tend to you're going to have to use both hands and push through here, And if one hand gets out in front of the other, your board gets twisted and then you end up in trouble and then I end up in trouble. So don't cut anything wider than 16 inches over here on the right side of the blade. Oh, and push stick placement. We talked about this probably in class, but push stick placement, let's say I've got a certain amount of room here, push stick in the middle of my board here. Don't put it all the way over here against because if I push here, it wants to turn to the left, right? And same deal here, if I push here, it wants to turn to the right. So you want to put it in the middle so that we're pushing straight. Good deal?